Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We are going to be playing with some drugstore makeup today. I was in my local Walmart just a couple days ago and picked up a couple random things from brands that I often overlook. So we're going to test them all out today. I have a small eyeshadow palette here. I have a tinted moisturizer, a liquid blush slash lip tint that I really want to try. I've got a lip liner and then also some lip glosses that we're going to test out. So we're going to do that today, fill in the blanks with some other things that I have around. I'll try to keep it all drugstore and see what we can come up with. Hope you guys are excited. Before we jump into the makeup, I want to welcome any of you that are new here. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy this video and I hope you'll consider subscribing before you leave. Also, make sure notifications are on if you'd like to know every time I upload a new video. And with that said, we have some makeup to try out, so let's get to it. All right, guys, so let me just walk you through what I picked up today. I grabbed the Neutrogena Radiant Tinted Moisturizer. Neutrogena is one of those brands that I often overlook. I know there's some of you that really love their stuff, especially their foundations and like skincare kind of like coverage products. I have used the foundation that's been around forever that's supposed to be a dupe for the Sheer Glow, the one that comes in the glass bottle that's really popular. I really like that foundation. I just haven't owned it for many years. I think before I even started my channel, which is, it's been a while, guys. I've been doing this for about 5 years now. But we're gonna try this one out today, see how much coverage it has. I also picked up an eyeshadow primer from Hard Candy that I thought looked interesting. This was pretty cheap. I think it was around like $6. We're gonna try that out. And then I got a couple things from Revlon. Revlon's another one of those brands that I often overlook, even though I have some things from Revlon that are some of my favorite things ever. For example, their highlighter, the Skin Lights highlighter, I think is the best highlighter at the drugstore. We will use that today, but I did pick up a quad from them. I'll be honest, guys, I haven't even tried this out. I've just been looking at it and I already feel like I have some things to criticize about this. But before I get critical, we'll try it on the eyes. We'll see how it goes. It looks very kind of like ashy and I don't know. I just have a feeling this is not gonna work very well for me. Don't judge yet, Mandy. Don't judge. I also picked up a long wear lip liner from Revlon that we're gonna try. I always love trying to find a long wear lip liner at the drugstore. Sometimes a hard thing to do. And then I picked up a whole bunch of glosses. Two of them are from Wet n Wild. This one right here looks like a dupe for one of my favorite glosses from Fenty. It kind of has this like blue sparkle in it. And I picked up another shade of the Wet n Wild. These are the Color Icon lip glosses. And then I picked up a Rimmel lip gloss. I'm actually wearing a bit of this on my lips right now. It's a plumping lip gloss. My mom actually turned me on to these recently and I really like how they feel and look on the lips. They do have a smell though they smell like Christmas. Like they smell very nutmeggy, which I don't mind that smell, but it's a very seasonal smell, so it kind of feels a little off to me for January. I'm just of the opinion, stick with something sweet. Vanilla will never disappoint me, the scent and taste of vanilla. In fact, before we get into the rest of the makeup, because I don't think I'm gonna use this one on my lips, I wanna try this one from Wet n Wild. Why don't I just put a little bit of this on my lips before we get anything else on, just so you guys can see it. It's a really nice formula. It is a bit on the sticky side, but it lasts really well on your lips. And this one, by the way, oh, actually, I don't know the shade. There's a number on the bottom. It says 1042. Just looks kind of like a nude. I think when you peel off the little plastic thing on the side that allows you to open it, it has the name on it, which I just think is like such a silly design that a lot of drugstore brands do. But I guess for people that don't make YouTube videos, it's probably not that big of a deal. All right, so let's get into the rest of the makeup. I don't have a new primer today, but I want to use my Maybelline 4-in-1 Skin Perfector. I just about picked up a new one of these. I do want to pick up a new one when I run out of this, which surprises me because I really dislike the packaging of this. I know I'm beating a dead horse. I've said that so many times this year, but I have to mention that because it is kind of a big deal to some people. But the product inside I like enough that I can overlook the packaging. It is a really nice, softly glowy, very hydrating primer. Okay, now let's move on to the Neutrogena Radiant Tinted Moisturizer Healthy Skin. That reminds me, I think the foundation I was previously talking about is the Healthy Skin foundation. So I ended up going with the shade Sheer Fair 20. They only had like 4 or 5 shades. I think that's mainly because this is supposed to be kind of on the sheer side. Let me just give it a little swatch for you guys on the back of my hand. Seems like this might be a little bit light for me. It's gonna be kind of sheer, so I think we can make it work. If I wasn't trying this out for the first time, I would probably add just a tiny bit of a darker foundation to this. I have a Wet n Wild foundation that I often do this with, one of their dewy foundations. I'm actually just gonna apply this with my fingers. This is how I typically like to apply a BB cream or a CC cream or a tinted moisturizer. I don't use tinted moisturizers. very often, you guys. It feels really nice and creamy and hydrating. I can definitely tell putting it on though that it is a tinted moisturizer. Like there's not a lot of coverage in this. I think if I was in my 20s, I would love something like this, but I didn't have the discoloration on my face that I have. If you have really clear skin, you might like this coverage level. I don't dislike it. I just know that now I'm gonna have to use quite a bit of concealer. I really am liking the plumping effect of this lip gloss though, now that it's like covered in foundation or tinted moisturizer. Okay, so there it is, all blended in. I just blended that out with my hands. I do think it evened out my skin tone just a little bit, but it did not cover any of the problematic areas. I mean, the redness around my nose, I don't feel like it covered up. The hyperpigmentation on my cheeks, even some of the more minor hyperpigmentation, like right here, that discoloration definitely didn't get covered. It just slightly evened things out. It feels nice and comfortable, but not a lot of coverage. Definitely a light coverage or a sheer coverage, which I should not be surprised by. Maybe I should have known that, looking at this, that it wouldn't cover a ton. I think I was maybe hoping this was more like a BB cream, which will typically give you more medium coverage. Let me just read what it says on the back. I didn't even read this before I spent $14 on it. It says, a lightweight tinted moisturizer provides the perfect sun protection veil and conditions skin for a natural, radiant looking finish. It's definitely true. I feel like that's pretty accurate. Feels nice and lightweight, but I need some more coverage. So let's jump to a concealer for that. I don't have a new one. We're gonna use my NYX Bear With Me Serum Concealer today. I normally don't use this on my under eyes, but we'll just go ahead and use it today. I really don't have anywhere important to go, so I'm actually just gonna apply this right onto my sponge because I probably will need more than usual with this. Usually I put I dab my concealer right where I need it, but today I think we're gonna need a little bit more. Okay, my face is definitely darker than my neck and my arms. Let's see if we can fix that with a bit of bronzer. But first I want to add a little bit of powder. Let's just use my Rimmel Stay Matte on my forehead, between my brows, sides of my mouth and nose. Let's add a little bit onto my cheeks just so that concealer stays put. All right, let's jump over to some bronzer. So I don't have a new bronzer, but today we're gonna pull out my Wet n Wild bronzer. This is the one in Sunset Striptease. I love this bronzer, as you can see from the weird pan that I hit. So this is actually like pan from my brush, and this is where Charlie took the back end of a brush and jabbed at my bronzer. Oh dear, this is where it gets tricky when the middle starts to kind of shatter and break. But I do really like this bronzer a lot. It's a really pretty color and formula. If you're on a budget, this is one of the ones that I'd most recommend. The Wet n Wild one or the e.l.f. Either their cream bronzer or their putty bronzer or their Forever Sun-Kissed bronzer, the primer infused. Kind of on the bridge of my nose, just because my foundation and concealer just seem a little bit light. So I'm gonna add a little more bronzer than usual. Okay, so there's our bronzer. Now I wanna try this blush. So this is a blush / lip stain from the brand Uoma Beauty. You guys might have seen these around if you shop at Walmart. So this is their It's Complicated lip tint. Now it says it's just a lip tint, an oil and gloss. On the little marketing that they had in front of this, it did say it was for lips or for cheeks. So we're gonna try this out on the cheeks today. So here's a little swatch of it. Feels really nice. This feels like a slightly more, if you've tried out the Juicy Pain water blushes, this just feels a little bit more, I almost wanna say greasy without saying greasy. It's not necessarily greasy. It just has a little bit of tack, a little bit more luminosity to it, I guess. It's actually a really pretty color. So I'm gonna take one more little swatch of this on the back of my hand, and then I'll take my brush, build it up in my brush, and then tap my brush over here. This is kind of a pigmented color, so I don't want too much on my brush before I apply it. I really like that. This is giving me Flower Beauty vibes, like the finish. It has like a very subtle sheen or kind of luminosity to it. Okay, got a little too much over on this side. I just need to take the back end of my sponge, kind of tap that out. That is gorgeous. So far, so good. I'm excited to see how that wears. Let's add some highlighter. I don't have a new one. We're just gonna use my Revlon Skin Lights today. Now let's move on to the brows. So I don't have anything new for my brows. We're just gonna reuse the Flower Beauty brow pencil that I tried out a few days ago. I'm actually really liking it. For it not being a slim brow pencil, It is a really good color and it's really quick. By the way, this is the shade Blonde. Let's move on to the eyes next. I'm gonna take a little bit of the Hard Candy Primer. Hopefully this stuff works well. I am still looking for one that I think can beat my Wet n Wild Photo Focus. That's my favorite one from the drugstore. It reminds me the most of some of the more high-end ones, like the Too Faced Shadow Insurance or the Urban Decay. I actually think the Too Faced one is a little bit better than the Urban Decay as far as keeping your shadows in place. We shall see with that. Let's jump into the eyeshadows. So this is the palette that I got. This is the Revlon Color Stay Day to Night palette. It says it's new and improved. I never tried the old one, but I have tried some eyeshadows from Revlon in the past and they've kind of been like hit or miss. So this is the Moonlit version, which is basically just some cool tones. I like this one because I like that it included a deeper shade and also that it had this champagne. My only issue looking at this now, and this was kind of hard to see in store, but I was hoping that this dark shade right here, though it does have some sparkle in it, I was hoping it was more of like a matte formula with some sparkle. I guess it's more of a satin. These all just kind of seem like satin in formula. Like they're all probably similar formulas. That's one of my complaints with a lot of the palettes that drugstores often do, is they often just pick a formula and everything across the board is this kind of, it's not really shimmery, but it's not really matte. Try this one out. Okay, this one feels really creamy. Like, is that a cream? I think they're all powders, but that one feels like a cream almost. So this is the champagne color. That is gorgeous. Let's try out the white shade. Swatch that. Okay, so I want to use a bronzer in my crease first because I feel like these shades alone are just going to be a little bit too ashy for me. I always like something a little bit warmer in the crease, so I'm just going to use the bronzer that I just used. And for that, we're going to try out these brushes. These are not drugstore. Persona sent these to me. Thank you to Persona. I'm excited to try them though. I just got them in, so we're going to try these out on the eyes. They also have a foundation brush that I wanted to try, but I didn't want to try it with a tinted moisturizer. I want to wait and try this with a real foundation that I actually like. But we're going to try the eye brushes out today. These look really cute. They are double-ended, so be aware of that. If you like to store your brushes like this, you like all these, this is how I store my brushes, in this little thing right here. But if you store them in like a little cup or a jar or something, it's probably going to damage the backside of your brushes. So these are probably better brushes to either leave on the top of your desk or counter or to leave them like in a bag. So let's start with this right here. This is the blending brush. We're going to dip that into my bronzer. Wet n Wild packaging for you. And I just want to put a little bit of this up through, kind of on top of my crease, just to add a touch of warmth before I go in with those cool tones. This is really, really soft. I'll link these brushes for you guys down below so you can go check them out. I don't really know what the pricing on these are quite yet. I just got these in, so I haven't really investigated yet, but I saw them sitting here and I happened to wash my other brushes this morning, so what better time to try them than now? And then we're gonna take the one on the back end, which is the Apply. This one, as you can see, is kind of like more of a C shape, but still really nice and soft, not too dense. We're gonna put a little bit of this into the tip and then just run that lightly under the lower lash line, pretty low, like almost in that socket down there. All right, and now let's get to the Revlon. I do want to try and blend a tiny bit of this dark shade into the outer corner to kind of smoke things out. Fortunately, they have a really nice looking brush for this. This is the Smudge brush. This is the Smudge and the Define. This looks like a really good brush. So this side is just, it's like a tiny blending brush that's maybe a little bit more like blunt and less fluffy. But I love brushes like this for really doing detail work in the outer corner. Start with this right at the lash line. This is a pretty dark shade. It's almost like a charcoal color. It is definitely cool toned, like more cool than I typically like to go in my outer corner. But the pigment's really good. It's blending really nicely. And it doesn't seem too patchy for it being more cool tone. And often cool tones I find to be tricky to blend. I'm just gonna take a little bit of what's left on the brush and lightly just kind of pull that down to meet up with that lower lash line and just kind of shape out this outer corner. I'm not going in too far. We are going to add some of this darker shimmer on the outer half of the lid. Just taking the back end of my sponge and kind of Smoothing out this edge right here. It's a really dark shade. I don't want any of that to creep down too low. Now let's go into the shimmer. We're going to start with this kind of pewter color right here. I used to love colors like this. Now I kind of don't usually use colors like this because I think they're, I don't know, they can close off my eyes a little bit. So we're going to try and keep this just on the outer half of the lid. Has a little bit of sheen to it. Now we're going to take the gold and just run that on the inner half of the lid. Okay, I kind of want to try it wet. I feel like it's a little bit weird, like it's not sticking on certain places. It is possible that is the eyeshadow primer, because I haven't tried that primer before. It's possible it could be the primer causing that. I'll have to get back to you on that, but I'm just gonna dampen my finger a little bit and pop a little bit more on that inner third of the lid. That's still not the most metallic shadow ever, which is not a bad thing. I know not everyone loves sparkly metallic lids as I do. If you like something more of like a neutral, kind of soft, natural finish, this is very pretty. Let's add a little bit of that white to the inner corner. With this brush right here, this is the back end of that smudge brush that I used for that kind of charcoal color right there. I want to dampen that just a little bit. And then we're going to dip it into this white right here and pop that right on the inner tear duct. It's a very icy white. Let's add a little bit of liner. We're just going to take my Wet n Wild Simma Brown Now liner. There it is. I'm hoping this will add a little bit of warmth to that outer corner, that smokier outer corner, having a little bit of brown. All right, when in doubt, add some brown liner. This particular liner, I feel like it saves the day so often. That looks much better. I'm gonna add a little bit of mascara. Let's go with this one, the e.l.f. Lash It Loud. I'm gonna apply a couple coats of this, then I'll be back and we'll try out the lip liner and the lip gloss. All right, here's the eye look complete with mascara. It's growing on me. I actually think it looks really good now that I have some liner and mascara on. I'm gonna keep playing with this. I'll keep you guys posted on the eyeshadow primer. These two things I think are gonna take me a little bit more time with, so I'll definitely come back and give you guys an update, but it does look really pretty. Let's move on to the lips next. I picked up the Revlon Color Stay Long Wear Lip Liner in the shade Natural. As I open it, it looks very, very light. I'm always afraid of drugstore lip liners being too dark, so I went with the lightest one that they had, but as I'm swatching this, I mean, it's barely even showing up on my more first, I don't know. I'd say that's probably about the shade of my lips. I usually like to go a little bit darker than my natural lip color. Let me just wipe off some of the stuff that's piled up on my lips, and we're gonna jump in with this. I will say though, I did swatch this a while ago. It has a bit of a sheen to it as well. I swatched that in such a weird place. This is just so stained. I wanted to find a clear patch of skin, but it is very budge proof. So once this sets down, it does not move, which is what I like to see, especially from the drugstore. I feel like sometimes it's hard to find budge proof lip liners that perform well. But I actually like that color. So I'm gonna start by overlining, and then I'm gonna line just the inner part of my natural lip all the way across, because this is quite light. Ooh, I really like that. Kind of like that bit of sheen that it has. I don't know that I've tried a more shimmery-ish lip liner before. It does take a minute to build up some pigment because it is slightly drier. It's not really tugging on my lips. It's just a little bit drier of a formula. Kind of feels like the MAC formula, although that one's not long wearing. Okay, so there's the lip liner. You guys, I actually really love the color of this. I mean, just as an all over color for your lips, if you like a really nude lip and you have probably more fair skin, or you like something just really, really nude, I mean, this is pretty light. It's one of the lightest lip liners I think I currently own, but I really like the undertone and that subtle shine finish to it. I think it's really pretty. So let's add a little bit of gloss on top of that now that it's kind of set down. I have two shades from Wet n Wild here. These are their Color Icon glosses, and I picked up the shade Pisces, the sparkly one, and Aquarius. First, I want to show you guys this one. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use yet, but let's give them both a quick swatch. So this looks beautiful. This Pisces one has this beautiful blue glitter in it. I have a gloss from Fenty. Actually, someone's borrowing it currently. I did someone's makeup for a school dance recently, and she borrowed that for the school dance. So I don't have it right now, but it's such a pretty gloss that has this beautiful like blue sparkle in it. This one almost seems more sparkly than the Fenty one, which seemed a little bit more subtle and sheer. My son just walked out the garage in front of my window. Kids are home from school today. It scared me. But there's the swatch. That is so pretty. For a dance or a special occasion or like a date night especially, that's a really pretty lip gloss. Let's try out this one. This one doesn't look quite as sparkly. Aquarius, it's more like a peachy pink. Looks a little bit more muted. Oh, that's pretty too. Too bad they don't smell yummy. I wish these smelled like their marshmallow lip stain. So there is Aquarius. Let's do this. We're gonna apply this one all over, and then I might put just a pop of that Pisces color on the center. It's pretty. For a $3 gloss, it's pretty nice. I'm gonna add a little bit of this to the center. Ooh, I like that. And there we have it, guys. This is the completed makeup look. Let's just go through everything new that I tried out really quickly. I'm gonna need some more time with the tinted moisturizer. I did have to put a lot of concealer on, more than I typically would. I used like a full pump and a half of this to apply in areas that I needed more coverage, but my skin does look really nice. So if you're looking for something that is just barely gonna give you coverage and just even things out, if you have naturally pretty good skin, I think you might really like this. It feels comfortable, like the finish just feels very natural. Probably the thing that is most exciting me is this blush, you guys. I feel like my cheeks, that cheek color right there, looks really, really pretty. I don't even know if I told you guys what shade this was. This is the shade Yaas, Y-A-A-A-S. I'm curious to try this out on my lips as well. This color is not really like a lip color for me. I don't usually go for the mid-tones like that, but I love it as a cheek color. So if you see this at your Walmart, so far, I would recommend it. I'll keep playing with it and let you guys know if I notice anything about its wear, if it happens to break me out or anything like that. But I love how it looks right now. As for the eyeshadow, this is a really pretty look. It's one of those looks that I think it's kind of boring, but I know most people, and even myself on like a normal day when I'm not just playing with makeup, this is the type of look that I typically do. Maybe even a little bit more smoky than normal. It is very, very flattering, very kind of basic and neutral, but still kind of smoky at the same time. So I know a lot of people would probably love this palette, this color story. The shimmers aren't overly shiny. As you can see, my lid's not like metallic, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I love a metallic lid. Like I love some sparkle, almost to a fault, to where I will have sparkle on my lid 90% of the time. I just love something sparkly, but I know not everyone is into that, especially if you like more natural makeup. I do think this suits those that like more natural makeup that want to go just a little bit more smoky. So those are my thoughts on it so far. I'll let you guys know how it wears as I play with it a little bit. Same goes for the eyeshadow primer. I'm gonna need some more time with this, especially with eyeshadow palettes that I'm already very familiar with. As for the lip liner, this was probably the biggest surprise to me. I was assuming once I swatched this that this was not going to work for me. It felt a little dry. The color seemed a little bit too light, but I really love this nude lip color. I think it's really beautiful. Again, this was the shade Natural, and I think these were pretty cheap. I want to say they were like $5. The Wet n Wild lip glosses, I think they're good. I'm gonna have to keep playing with these. I'm curious to keep playing with this one with some other lip combinations underneath, some other lip liners. I think it's a really pretty color. This one's a lot more of just like a basic nude natural color. As for the Rimmel one, this one I think is a little bit more thick, a little bit more opaque. It has a plumping quality to it. I actually really like this one, even though I don't love the smell of it that much. I like how it performed, and I like the plumping effect on my lips. But that's pretty much everything. I'd say this one's pretty good success. I was worried there at the beginning, but I think it came together really nicely. Have you guys tried out any of this makeup? Did it work for you? If you have any feedback, feel free to leave those down in the comments below. Hope you guys are all doing well. I want to give you guys one more reminder to subscribe before you leave. Thank you all for joining me again today. Hope that you are all doing well, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. I shouldn't talk while I'm putting this stuff on. I look like a crazy person, like a ventriloquist. Speaking of ventriloquist, did you know that my son, who is now 16, he went through a phase when he was in grade school. It was a while ago, when he was like 8. He went through a ventriloquy phase. He actually had a ventriloquy doll. That's what he wanted for Christmas or his birthday, I can't remember. It was kind of a creepy looking doll. In fact, his cousins sometimes would come over to play. One of his younger cousins was deathly afraid of this ventriloquy doll. I don't blame him, it was really freaky. I'm kind of glad that he grew out of that phase.